Hello. I want to start out with a personal question for you all today. How many personal care products did you put on your body? So raise your hand if it was more than 3. Shampoo, conditioner, deodorant, lotion, shaving cream, toothpaste, soap. We all use these products. Some of us are even obsessed with them. And that was my story. Back in the day, I was a big fan of 17 magazine, and I spent lots of time in the Osco drug cosmetics aisle searching for the products that would transform me into the confident, lovable version of myself. And I used all sorts of skin creams and makeups, all topped off with a huge cloud of Aquanet. So this was back in the days of big hair. So I recently went and looked up all the ingredients in those products and found I had been exposing myself to 200 chemicals a day before even getting on the school bus. And that's actually pretty typical of a lot of teenagers and for many of us. So I tell that story to point out that the stories we're hearing about today, about chemical pollution, about toxic plastic waste, about rising rates of cancer, aren't just problems that are happening out here that somebody needs to deal with, but they're as close to us as the choices we're making every single day about the lotions that we put on our faces and the bubbles that we put in the bathtub with our children. And in fact, we can look at a lot about what's wrong with the fossil fuel-based material economy just by looking at a bottle of baby bubble bath. And I brought one to show you. That's Dora the Explorer. She's a friendly, curious sort, and she's going to help us today explore what's going on with the products that we bring into our homes. So the first thing about Dora is that she's made of vinyl. And this is the worst plastic from an environmental and health perspective, PVC number 3, produced in places like Louisiana's Cancer Alley, pollutes the air with carcinogens when it's manufactured or incinerated. It's not recyclable, and it needs toxic additives to mold it into shapes like Dora, such as phthalates, which are linked to birth defects of the penis, testicular tumors, and other problems with male reproductive health that have been increasing in the several decades since plastics and chemicals have been proliferating. Now, inside Dora is a bubble bath made of synthetic chemicals derived from oil byproducts, most of which have never been tested for safety, some of which are quite toxic. And we know that this contains at least 2 known cancer-causing agents, formaldehyde and 1,4-dioxane. And so all of this is wrapped up in a cute little girl waving from the bottom shelf where a child is most likely to see and grab it. So this isn't just a story of Dora, unfortunately. Many children's bath products contain problematic chemicals. All of these products on the screen contain both formaldehyde and 1,4-dioxane, including Grins and Giggles and the Pampers Can-Do Frog and even Johnson's baby shampoo. So what's going on? Well, one thing I can tell you for absolutely certain is that there's no need for baby shampoos to contain carcinogens. Companies already know how to make the products without those chemicals. And in fact, Johnson's baby shampoo has different formulations in other countries, such as Japan and Sweden, that have banned formaldehyde-releasing preservatives. So they need to get the carcinogens out of all the products on the shelf. And the storyline about Americans being less protected from toxic chemicals is actually quite common. And I have to tell just one more story about that because it's such a fresh scandal. Has anyone heard of Brazilian Blowout? So this is a very popular hair straightener product, all the rage with the celebrities. It's advertised as formaldehyde-free, and people were complaining of severe allergic reactions, and so this product was actually tested and found to contain 10% formaldehyde. So the company said that's not true. Now, within a week, Health Canada tested this product, confirmed that it was 10% formaldehyde, issued a public health warning, and started pulling it from salons. But here in the United States, where the product is made by a California company, FDA has done nothing. It's still on the shelves, advertised as formaldehyde-free. And when I see a product like this, I'm reminded that we're all made to feel like our hair should be straighter, our hair should be lighter, our skin should be lighter, Our skin should be darker with spray-on tans. Our lips should be plumper. We don't quite smell right, so we should all go out and buy beauty products that are made from oil residues to make ourselves feel healthy and whole. Now, these companies have a lot of power over the public space, over our sense of self, even over our bodies as they continue to expose us unnecessarily to toxic chemicals. So that's the bad news. The good news is, the real story is that we have the power. We have the power because we get to decide which products we put on our bodies and which companies we support with our money. And that's a lot of power. And when I say we, I'm talking about primarily women. And guys, we care about you too, and you're actually the hottest new growth market for the beauty industry with the Old Spice ads and the Axe ads and all that. But I want to talk about women for a moment, because women are, did you know, 54% of the vote in this country. We're now 60% of college graduates, and we make 85% of the consumer product purchasing choices, 85%. So women absolutely have the power to control the nature of every consumer product on the market. So how are we going to do that? I want to talk to you about 3 strategies for transformation, about how we can marshal our power to give the chemical industry, the plastic industry, the beauty industries a makeover, and the oil and war industries too, until there are no more toxic chemicals in babies, until we create new economic systems that are compatible with life. The first thing I want to talk about is the power of purchasing, and I want to ask all of you in this room and listening in to make a commitment right now, today, to stop buying toxic products. To just say no to companies that are using cancer-causing chemicals, toxic plastics, to support instead the companies that are doing it right. And I call this strategy the girl-cot. So boycott means no, girl-cot means also yes. Yes to safe products, yes to companies that value our health, yes to creating the kind of world we want to live in with the choices that we make with our money every day. There are many great products on the market. That's the good news. These are some examples of good baby products. You do have to do some work to find them, and we have to take that challenge on of doing the work, doing the research. And there are some great tools available, like the Skin Deep database at safecosmetics.org and cosmeticdatabase.org. Lots of other tools online to help us be conscious consumers. But that's not enough. We can't just shop our way out of this problem. So number 2, we also have to use our power of politics. And I'm happy to say that this summer, the Safe Cosmetics Act of 2010 was introduced. It's the first real opportunity in over 70 years that we've had to transform cosmetic regulations that were put in place in 1938. We've got lots of support behind this bill, cancer groups, women of all political persuasions. This is a nonpartisan issue. This is a human issue. And that's a quote actually from Fran Drescher, and I love this photo of Fran. She went down to the Capitol and she lobbied for the bill and brought a lot of attention to it, and we need more of that kind of high-profile support. So please talk to me, look at our website and see how you can support the Safe Cosmetics Act. And lastly, I want to talk about the power of you. The power that you have in your communities to be a leader, to stand up for health, to bring people together to share and talk about the stories and resources that you heard today, and to find a way to take action. Engage somewhere. Where's your passion? Where's your outrage? We need to marshal those forces. We need to be louder and stronger and bolder in taking on the power structures that are destroying life. And I want to end with a story about a teenage girl who's been very inspiring to me. Emily Packer, she's a senior at San Rafael High School, and she recently decided to take on a major corporation over their unhealthy practices. Has anyone been into an Abercrombie & Fitch recently? If so, you've seen these six-pack ab ads, and you've smelled fierce cologne because they spray the store down and all the clothes and outside every 30 minutes as part of their branding store policy. Now, we tested this cologne and found out it contains a bunch of chemicals that trigger allergic reactions such as asthma, headaches, wheezing. It also contains diethyl phthalate, which is linked to sperm damage. So how ironic that this company that's marketing images of male virility is actually spraying all over the place a chemical that could have the opposite effect on male reproductive health. Well, Emily thought this was outrageous. She decided she wanted to take it on. She was a girl that 2 years ago when I first met her was very shy, like a not really look you in the eye type. Well, 2 weeks ago, I watched her lead a protest in downtown San Francisco against Abercrombie & Fitch. She organized 20 teenagers with signs and gas masks to march into the store, around the store, chanting about their right to health. Well, they got kicked out. Abercrombie actually kicked all the customers out. They closed down the store. And there was Emily standing in the middle of this huge crowd of people, looking up at this very tall police officer who was lecturing her about how she couldn't go back in there because she'd be trespassing. And she was looking up at him and said, "They're trespassing on me, on my body, on my right to health, on my right to breathe clean air." It was such a beautiful sight to see this young girl standing her ground, speaking her truth, surrounded by her community. That's the kind of energy that's going to change the world. And if one person can have that kind of impact, think of what we can all do if we stand together. So I want to thank all of you today for everything that you do to make positive choices. Together we can change the world. Thank you.